All right, well, I just saw Alien Romulus, and I'm going to keep this spoiler free. So, what do I think? I think it's about 50% of a good movie. I think it definitely starts a lot better than it ends. I'll get into a few things I really liked first before I go into my criticisms. I, in general, liked the cast. Thought they did a pretty good job with what they had script wise. I think the beginning of the movie does a very good job establishing a group of like orphans, sort of, on this mining colony where they've all experienced loss and tragedy, and it's understandable for them to want to take kind of like a gamble and attempt to get off world. So I had no problem with them or their motivations. Some of their character stuff I thought was pretty neat. It's more than serviceable for setting up what essentially will be cannon fodder for, a horror movie set in space. So I think they do a pretty good job with that. I really enjoyed most of the character stuff. Standout for me, probably Andy, the brother. He's phenomenal. I thought he did a really good job. I think the things that they have his character go through in the movie really work, and I think the actor is super capable. Handles it. I just loved it. So I really enjoyed him for the most part. The things I don't like have nothing to do with the actor and everything to do with what I consider to be a very weak ending to an otherwise pretty solid movie. So they do a lot of good setup in the beginning. They show the characters being smart. They show the characters being resourceful. There's a lot of like good rationale for doing things. So I won't go into spoilers like I said, but the characters at the beginning of the movie, pretty clever, pretty smart. I like how they take their time and they're very rational about things. There's a part in the movie where suddenly something happens and they introduce another character. And I don't care for that. It feels very like, well, this takes place in between Alien and Aliens, apparently. So there's a lot of like aesthetic stuff that looks very alien. And then one thing that they tried to include, there's a lot of references, lines of dialogue, and things that are pulled from the Alien franchise in general. So if you have like an understanding of the Alien franchise, you're going to see like a lot of like, got it, get the reference, move on. They bring a character into the movie, though, I think the movie would have been much better off without. And I won't go into details here, but when I saw this character, I was like, oh, God, please stop, right? One of those things, just like unnecessary, don't need it. So that kind of took me out of the movie and set me on my back foot a bit as I was watching it. Like I said, around the halfway point from this movie, which is like, it's about a 2-hour movie, so it does feel very long. And I'll explain why here in a little bit. It just started falling apart for me. Characters, like, instead of being smart and clever, they end up doing things that are like really dumb and awkward. That like all that rationale goes out the window, and you could say like, oh well, it's a horror thing, the stakes are going up. But there's one scene that, like I said, I won't go into spoilers, but they have time to prep, right? They have time to get ready for something, and they forget like one of the most crucial elements of prepping for like the situation they're about to go under, and it's so dumb. I couldn't stand it. And then this movie also falters with that whole third act is just like luck. It's luck and just the script saying this happens, and it's so unfortunate because there was such like an air of danger early on that completely just everybody's, they have plot armor. You're not really concerned about everything. And then they introduce like this kind of twist at the end, and it's not really a twist, but they introduce this element at the end that I sort of liked. I kind of understood what they were going, and I thought this will make for a very interesting kind of like sequel moving forward. What will they do with this? But no, this movie suffers from the same problem every other movie does. There's a secret bonus act at the end of the third act. So even when your story, your primary story, is all wrapped up, and it was wrapped up for the most part, it's okay to have like threads that you're going to continue forward, that, take your time with them. If you get a sequel, you don't need to wrap up every single thing you've established in this movie. And they do it. And the ending of this movie feels so wildly like a different movie I've seen. And God, like I don't want to go into spoilers for you, but if you guys have seen, well, I won't go into spoilers, but I'll tell you what, it's like, I'm really kind of split down the middle on whether or not I should tell you what movie it reminds me of, but it would be a spoiler, and I don't want to do that. But know that it bugs me a great deal that I can't talk about it here. So the ending of the movie is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And like I said, that second hour of the movie, just, you can forgive a little bit of like things that are ridiculous, right? It's a horror movie. Some things are going to be silly. You're going to have some set pieces. They want to do certain things. But man alive, if they don't just ask too much too quickly. That the whole ending of the movie just, they lost me. They could never get me back. The stakes kept getting bigger, more elaborate, more cartoonish. Oh, it's terrible. I was so disappointed because, like I said, first half of the movie, much better than I thought. And I was like really excited, and it felt very like claustrophobic and atmospheric. But there's just too much coincidence, too much things happening for the sake of the movie to happen. And you can kind of like, it's just too much. And like I said, there's the introduction of this one character early on just kind of threw me, and I didn't care for it. And I was like, please stop. And then by the end of the movie, I was like, really, please stop. Where do I rate it in the franchise? That's a tough one. Because I really only like the first two Aliens. I don't care for like Prometheus and Covenant that much. I don't really care for Alien 3, and I don't care for Alien Resurrection. So I guess if I could watch the first half of this movie, it's kind of like I did a review for Trap, where it's like the first hour kind of knows what it's doing, and then they just can't help themselves. It's got to get bigger, louder, more bombastic, at the expense of good storytelling. So I don't know. It might be the third best Alien movie, but that's not saying a whole lot. And it gets most of that just because how much I liked the first like hour of it. So I don't know. Have you seen this movie? Let's try and keep it spoiler free in the comments for people who haven't. I'm already in talks with like my buddy to come over and do like a full breakdown spoiler wise. So hopefully I can get together with him after the weekend. But anyway, thanks for listening. All right, bye.